Hello everybody and welcome back, and today I've got a replay from Enemy playing a tier 9 British light cruiser, the Neptune. And of course the reason why we're going to do this replay is because one, the replay totally kick ass, and second, because I've got a lot of questions lately from people asking about British cruisers. How can I play them effectively, how can I get better with them, etc. So hopefully this replay will serve as a bit of a guide, and maybe you'll pick up some things that'll help you with your British cruiser play. Now, British cruisers, they have a lot of good things about them, right? They have that very special AP ammunition. That means if you run into things that are giving you broadside, lots of damage to be gotten from that. They're very good at killing destroyers with their armor-piercing ammunition, and they have lots of toys. Of course, their one big problem is that they are fragile. Very, very fragile. Anybody looks at you the wrong way, you might be eating a citadel. Couple of ships look at you the wrong way, you're eating a lot of citadels. Maybe you even blow up on the first salvo there. So one of the first things you have to deal with when you're playing a British cruiser is at the very beginning, you need to protect yourself. And the reason why is because at the very beginning of the battle, when the enemy team is still filled with lots of ships, they see you, and they will focus fire you, and that's not very good. So what does enemy do to deal with that potential scenario? Well, seeks cover behind islands. And that's, well, as much as I am not a huge fan of the whole sitting behind an island playstyle, that is what you have to do at the early stages of the game. Now, if you look at what enemy is doing, he's still at a distance where he can support his team, but he is nicely in cover. So not a lot of enemy ships are going to be shooting at him at this particular time. So he can provide fire support for his destroyers in the cap, while he himself is able to stay out of the way of enemy shells, mostly battleship shells because battleships are scary. And of course, shooting at destroyers, because destroyers don't like British armor piercing, because you hit and you generally do penetration damage and it hurts like hell. So that Fletcher over there, just watch the salvo here. Just look at that HP loss. For every time he does hit, it's a huge chunk of HP that's going off. Oh boy, there we go. And dead. Neptune, and actually British cruisers in general, when they fire armor piercing, and the exception is the Belfast by the way, but the tech tree line British cruisers are lethal against destroyers. The Belfast is actually an exception. It has HE, but if you look at its armor piercing, when it shoots against destroyers, it doesn't have the short detonator time. So the Belfast's AP will actually overpen destroyers. But the tech tree ones, they will penetrate and they will do damage. Alright, so enemy continues to shoot at the enemy team. That's actually a pretty funny name, by the way. He's shooting at the enemy team, and you'll notice that he's shooting at cruisers that are a bit more angled, and they're just not getting the greatest of hits there. So of course, the minute the destroyer pops up, he turns his attention onto the destroyer. Again, what he's doing as well is he's sort of paying attention again to his positioning. He's not wandering too far away from this island. This island is something that is protecting him in the early stages of the game. Now, of course, you're not going to be staying behind an island for the entire game. As the enemy team starts to die out, as situations start to proceed to favorable conditions, then you can start moving. In this particular battle, one of the things that is going to happen that's going to allow enemy to start moving is the approaching Cyclone. Now, the Cyclone, it's sometimes not so good for certain ships, but for the British cruisers, I think the Cyclones actually are a very good thing because it allows them to get closer, it allows them to exploit enemy ships when they show broadside, and also allows them to use their torpedoes and also be at a close enough range where in certain scenarios, if they turn broadside, instead of getting deleted, they might just get overpens. So battleships shooting at them might get citadel overpens, allowing them to actually get away scot-free and to be safe. Alright, so with the availability of smoke, and it is a very short duration, short activation smoke, my bad, duration activation, a little bit different there. A short activation smoke, getting about 2 puffs of smoke, it allows you to at least come away from the island a little bit to bring your guns to bear against a certain target. However, of course, you have to keep in mind that when you have deployed smoke, you do make yourself a relatively easy target for destroyer torpedoes, so you have to be wary about those. Of course, if you run into other ships, especially cruisers that are giving you a broadside, make sure you punish them quickly with hits to the citadel, because your armor piercing, even if they are, let's say, a little bit angled, you're still going to get those pens, because unlike other armor piercing that has a very, very crappy, let's say, auto bounce angle, the British cruisers have a pretty solid auto bounce. And that means, even at pretty extreme angles, you still might get those shells to go through. In this case, this Ibuki on the enemy team, not very smart, came out broadside, 9.5k damage on the first salvo. And look at the speed of the reload on the Neptune too. It's just so fast. Before the Ibuki there can even really react, he's dead. I mean, that took 3 salvos and he was just gone within a very short period of time. The torpedoes that enemy fire towards smoke actually manages to get him a torpedo hit on something. We're not really sure what it is, but he hit a torpedo. Now, the thing about, of course, the higher tier British cruisers is that, yeah, if you see enemy smoke and it's within range of your torpedoes, toss some torpedoes there. And then, of course, try to get back into cover. Alright, so the enemy Takao over there, which is really just a Tago, but anyways, the Takao over there comes out, is showing a bit of a broadside, and of course, enemies putting as much fire into that Takao as possible with only his 2 forward guns. The other ones are just getting blocked. And of course, you can tell it's pretty easy when the enemy ship gives you that broadside to get those really sweet hits, including that nice citadel. And of course, Takao's like, ah, hell no, I'm not sitting here eating that from you. And you'll see that even when the enemy ship is actually in a position where normal AP would bounce off, the British AP will just keep on penning. Then of course, sometimes it just trolls you and then you bounce anyways, but that's another story for another day. Alright, so enemy, again, still behind cover. His smoke has come back. The smoke cloud he laid earlier obviously has dissipated. So of course, when the Takao over there, I think, has gotten stuck on the island, he's going to fire a bit more at it, but eventually he's going to decide to move out again. And you'll see, this Takao is basically, like, stern onto him, which is pretty extreme of an angle, and yet he's still getting some decent pens. So, coming out from the island again, and this time he is going to be popping his smoke. And this is the thing about British cruisers. You really do have to use that combination of smoke and islands to keep yourself relatively safe while outputting damage. There is the Izumo. Izumo's offering not much of a broadside. If you actually look at the way the ships are angled on the minimap, doesn't really feel like there's much to shoot at there with armor piercing, but look at that damage on that superstructure area. Look at that AP damage. I mean, that is probably about what? Close to 6,000 damage a salvo. That Izumo is taking a lot of damage very, very quickly as well, just because of the speed of the reload on the Neptune. But when you're in a battleship and you you think of yourself as being relatively angled, and you're eating these 6,000 damage salvos from a cruiser that you can't really shoot back at because the cruiser's in smoke, it's a little bit of a scary proposition. And of course, that Izumo is immediately like, no, I don't really want to do this anymore, so he tries to back away. Of course, with the Neptune having these relatively good longer range torpedoes, he's firing them, and I think he does catch that Izumo with a torpedo. And of course, by doing that, Izumo is just not in a good place. Okay, so by now the Cyclone has come into effect. The vision range has been cut. Alright, so here's the thing, right? Torpedoes came in from a destroyer. Neptune eats 2 torpedoes, takes heavy damage, but take a look at that heal. And that's the thing about these British cruisers. If they don't nuke you outright, you are able to recover quite a bit of your HP. Alright, so Fubuki's like, I think I've done something horribly wrong, tries to pop smoke, but of course, there's the thing, the versatility, right? The ability to rush into smoke, take down destroyers, because you've got hydroacoustic. And that is what I mean when I said the British cruisers tend to have a lot of toys that they can play with, and it allows them quite a bit of flexibility. Speaking of which, that Fubuki dies, then the attention gets turned on the Izumo, manages to dodge that salvo from the Izumo, and there's a dead Izumo. So that's 4 kills already, 157k damage. Not bad for basically having sort of hugged an island for the early stages of the game. But now with the Cyclone in full effect and with vision down to 8 kilometers, this is when, as a Royal Navy cruiser captain, you can kind of go out a little bit and hopefully catch some ships that are going to be offering you maybe more broadsides than they would otherwise expect, because hey, they don't really know where you're coming from. Of course, you do still want to avoid potentially running into battleships, as depending on how well that battleship player plays, they might still be able to delete you. Still, you also have torpedoes, so depends on who screws up there, really. I mean, if the battleship plays it right and deletes you, you die. If he whiffs or he overpens you, then you can get torpedoes off, and then that battleship is going to have a bad day. Alright, but in this particular case, of course, the enemy battleship is north, so enemy has really nothing to worry about, so he's just going to go straight onto cap and hopefully run into destroyers or cruisers or whatnot and kill them off as quickly as he can. Again, in Cyclone, advantages, enemy doesn't really know where you're coming from. Ooh, here's a Shores, and look at the Shores. Look at the position that Shores is in. He's broadside, that's not a good place to be, and just watch how quickly that Shores gets melted. Salvo 1, Salvo 2, and that Shores is pretty much on no HP now. There's, ooh, that missed, that Salvo missed. There is the next Salvo, and that Shores is dead. That's Kraken, by the way, but in that little period of time where enemy showed broadside to the enemy Belfast, take a look at how much HP he lost. But he didn't get outright killed, so he's able to hit that heal and start recovering some HP. Leningrad, of course, you're just in the wrong place when you're dealing with a cruiser like this, because as a destroyer, you just take so many pens and you die very, very quickly. So Leningrad goes down, and that is 195,000 damage and kill number 6. Yep. Oh, the Belfast came out. And this is the one thing I didn't really like about the Belfast. Sometimes at this particular kind of situation, you really wish you had torpedoes. But no torpedoes, you come out, and of course you get AP to death, and of course because your AP isn't special, the Neptune just utterly wipes you off the map without any worry whatsoever. So going back to the British cruiser strategy kind of thing, in the early stages of the game when the enemy team, like I said, was really full and there's ships everywhere, you want to sort of be in cover. But as the enemy team start dying off and the map sort of opens up a little bit more and there's not as much focus fire and the enemy ships are more damaged, then you can absolutely come out, and you can come out and you can start picking off kills and start really doing the whole sort of kill securing thing, which is what enemy does actually. He's come out, he's killed a bunch of them, but now the enemy team doesn't have much left, so the rest of this battle is going to be kill securing. Oh, there we go, enemy ship comes out behind him. That's a Mogami. Mogami doesn't know he's there because now he's actually used the Leningrad smoke. And that's another thing, by the way. If you play destroyers, be really careful where you lay your smoke. Sometimes you're giving the enemy a weapon to play with. So Mogami comes out, doesn't realize that enemy's actually here, and of course, quick little kill secure there. Another Citadel hit, and that would be kill number 8. Yep, that's 8 kills already. And you'll notice that 4 of the kills happened relatively quickly. I mean, they sort of were just like one after another. And that's that. I mean, this battle is pretty much over. I think there is, if I remember correctly, there is a battleship that's going to die. And there is one remaining enemy cruiser. And so, right, enemy's taking a look at the map. Doesn't really want to go after the battleship because the battleship is going to die right there. So instead decides to go south and chase after the cruiser. Of course, by this stage of the game, it's already over. There's, I think, one enemy cruiser left. And enemy's racked up 8 kills already, and has gotten 16 Citadels, is high caliber, has got Confederate, has got Kraken. So it's done a very good job playing his British cruiser. And the thing you should notice is that that's sort of the stages of British cruiser play. Like at the beginning, you really sort of use islands and smoke to the best of your ability to stay in cover while putting out the damage. And as the game sort of opens up a little more, then you start to go out and you engage enemy ships a little bit more. So, enemy cruiser, the last remaining ship on the enemy team, well, is going to come into range very soon. There we go. It's fired, gets spotted, and not in a good position again. Again, showing a little bit of a broadside. And just watch how quickly the AP can just ruin your day. I mean, it doesn't even have to get Citadels, just penetrating hits onto the superstructure. And you're talking almost, what, 4,000 plus damage? In a salvo. That hurts. That really does hurt. And of course, this is the killing blow. And the right there. Ooh, wait. There it is. There is kill number 9. Alright, so that's pretty much how you play Royal Navy Cruiser, right? Stay safe at the beginning, wait for the battle to open up a little bit more, and then take advantage of as much cover as you can while putting out as much damage as you can. And always remember, shooting at things that are giving you broadside is great. So here's the victory screen at the end. Warrior's Path map, enemy in a Neptune, managed 231,000 damage, got 10,926 experience, 700,000 credits. Confederate, Dreadnought, Kraken, High Caliber. Yes, his secondary guns even set afire, so yes. That's the kind of battle it was. 9 ships destroyed, got 2 torpedo hits, managed to get a couple of flag defense ribbons, as well as, I believe, at one point he got, yeah, there we go, there was also a base assist ribbon. Let's take a look at his base experience and his credit gains as well in more detail. In terms of base experience, enemy scored 3,642 base experience, more than double the next highest person on his team. So that's a phenomenal amount of base experience, really carrying his team really hard there. And in terms of credit gains, on a premium account, obviously, made more than 500,000 credits after all the deductions. And had he even been on a free account, would have still made 274,000 credits. Of course, I mean, after getting like 9 kills, I'd figured you'd have to make some money, right? Anyways, enemy, thank you so much for submitting this replay. It's an excellent replay. It was an excellent battle. And of course, for those of you who are a little bit curious on how you play a Royal Navy cruiser, this is quite a good lesson on how to do it well. Anyways, folks, hope you enjoyed this video. Take care, have a good one, and I'm looking forward to talking to all of you again really soon.